Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is a Wednesday edition. We'll have JC later today, but we're going to kick it off with Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. If you missed it last night, a lot of good college basketball. The Maui Invitational is incredible. Duke loses to Kansas out in Vegas, and the Gators will tip off tomorrow around 2:30 against the Demon Deacs of Wake Forest while you're stuffing your face and watching football as well. Let's go to the Titan Tomorrow hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, Heisman Trophy voter. Curious who he's got on his ballot right now. He's not supposed to tell us, but maybe he will. Brent Beaird, good morning. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, bud. I'm doing okay. Wanted to also mention, people may not be aware of this, but there is a college football game tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And that is between two pretty good teams, Memphis at Tulane on ESPN tomorrow night at 7:30. Tuskegee at Alabama State is on ESPNU at 2 o'clock. So we do actually, but we don't have an Egg Bowl, Shane, but we at least have a little football.
I mean, they really need to reevaluate this. I mean, Tulane's got a lot to play for. They got a chance to get into the playoffs. I don't think anybody was worried about that when they booked this game.
Really?
But it is really ridiculous that the Egg Bowl is being played on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I agree.
Ridiculous.
And then Georgia playing that night, Friday night too. That folks may miss that. So you've got the Egg Bowl and you've got Georgia Tech.
All right, Brent. Let's start with the little show was on last night, which. You know, this show is so much different than the previous shows because you have zero idea what's going to happen, right? They're putting up these so-called matchups, but you got to wait and see who wins the conference championship games, things of that nature. So anyway, anything stand out to you last night?
Well, you said it well. I mean, we're dealing with 12 teams instead of 4. The ESPN on Monday did the analytics, and there are 24 teams who still have even a sliver of a chance to go to the playoffs. And this is why they did this, because of the interest that it has driven all across the country. And it is, I think it's well deserved. The rankings are out for now, and your top 12, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State. Some people think Penn State's a little higher than they should be. Notre Dame plays USC. Miami is 6, Georgia 7, Tennessee, SMU doing very well at 9. At 10 is Indiana. Boise State is 11, 12 is Clemson, but still close. 13 is Alabama, 14 is Ole Miss, 15 is South Carolina. Those 3 teams with 3 losses apiece. And that's your top 15. But and as Shane said, you still got Tulane's at 17, Arizona State's at 16, Iowa State's at 18, BYU and A&M is at 20. So, Shane, the reality is the playoff is doing what they wanted it to do, and that is stir up interest in November that we normally would not have.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. No question about it. Kanye Ron on YouTube, brought to you by Quiet Plum, says, do they want to not compete with the NFL games on Thursday? Is that why they moved the game to Friday? The Egg Bowl's always been on Thursday, even when I was a young kid. And quite honestly, I'd rather watch Tulane play Memphis than I would the Cowboys and the Giants.
I agree totally.
I mean, can you believe that game's going to be on Thanksgiving? Cowboys Giants,
It's terrible.
awful football
Absolutely
team.
terrible. That might be 7-3.
Yeah. So a lot of things can happen this weekend that really uh, changes the scenario. I mean, USC could beat Notre Dame. That would knock
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame out. Um, Alabama's still hovering. Alabama and Ole Miss are still hovering with the potential of getting in. But and we'll talk about it in a minute. But Alabama's got their hands full with Auburn, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Um, Brent, I don't know if you have it in your notes here, but I saw it yesterday. Somebody asked here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, who are your favorites for the Heisman Trophy? I think it's probably a two-horse race right now between
Yeah.
Genty and I guess you could
Yeah.
throw Dylan Gabriel in there. Genty and Travis Hunter.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think that's probably true. Look, you can't help but be impressed with Hunter and what he's done. I mean, you would understand this better than anybody. When you're playing 150 to 160 plays a game now, as you said, and you're right, he doesn't go all out on every play, and he's probably smart enough to know when to go all out and when to rest a little bit. But yes, right now those two guys or now look, if Kim Ward comes out and he is 25 of 26 for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in a couple of games remaining. I mean, he could be up there, but yeah, I would say those two guys are the favorites at this point. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if people saw it yesterday. Usually Dion's press conferences are a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
But he was very upset, and I don't blame him. If people don't are aware of this, Travis Hunter, I believe, is up for about every award
Yeah.
there
He is.
is, even the wide receiver award, which is Bolitnikov. But he's
Yeah.
not even a finalist for the Jim Thorpe Award. So Dion said, you know what? I'm done with the Jim Thorpe Award. He can have mine. And that's a bad look, don't you think, Brent?
It's a terrible look. It really is. And the problem with these awards, and I vote in a lot of them, but I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of people who really, when they come out with the original list, for whatever reason, they're not well versed on what's going on across the nation, and guys get left out, and it's just a head scratcher, and that was one of them.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that at all. Pretty bizarre for sure. Um, Real quick here, we got a text on the Titan More text line regarding the Heisman Trophy. This is from Freddie up in Georgia. Freddie says, I don't know who's going to win it this year, but I know who's going to win it next year. DJ Lagway for sure. Look, that would be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of things have to happen to win the Heisman Trophy, right?
No doubt. Yeah.
Everybody thought Anthony Richardson was going to win the Heisman too. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Here's what I see with DJ that could hurt him in the long run. He's not going to have enough pass attempts to put up the numbers, in my opinion. Because if you look at what Billy Napier loves to do is run the football, right, Brent?
Absolutely.
I think in the perfect world, if the Gators are winning football games next year, he's going to have 20 to 22 pass attempts, not completions, attempts like he did against Ole Miss, right? He was like 10 of 18.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
When DJ throws for 30-something attempts, that means the Gators are behind or behind trying to catch up. I just don't know statistically it will happen. And I don't think people should care. What they should care about is winning football games, whatever it takes to win. So that's just where I look at it, because we all know it's statistically driven, and you usually need to be on a pretty good team.
Yeah, it is. Now, I'll say this. I'll throw this caveat in there. If they're in the top 5 and he is accurate, and he can add what, Shane, 75 to 100 yards rushing a game.
Right.
Now people would really look at him then.
Yeah. And I said, I don't know if it was maybe it was with Steve Russell. I don't know if you're going to see a lot of run plays call with DJ. I think he's a pure passer.
Yeah.
I think he's more of I'm going to run if I need to run, like a scramble, because he's a smart runner. But I don't think they're going to call a lot of. They'll call a few zone reads, but they're not going to call quarterback powers and things like that. And that's just
Sure.
from what I've seen in a small sample size. Another text real quick here. This is from Ryan. I want to wish everybody a blessed Thanksgiving. I haven't heard much chatter lately about revamping the swamp and reducing seating capacity for the sake of comfort. But after the last 2 weeks, I hope Mr. Strickland can see that he needs to leave the swamp alone. Folks ain't coming to watch the ballet. The more in there screaming, the merrier. It appears Coach Napier's on his way to reclaiming the swamp where only Gators get out alive. They need to figure out a way to squeeze 5,000 more into the swamp. Don't ever take a single seat out. Thanks for the text, Ryan. Happy Thanksgiving to you. I agree. I I don't sit in the stands, but I know people want chairbacks and all that stuff, but it is what it is, Brent. Nobody sits in the game anyway.
No,
Right?
no, a lot of them don't. Now, I will say this: the trend, for what it's worth, as of the last probably 5 years, is if you refurbish your stadium, the capacity is going down. I mean, if you look at the trend of the stadiums that are redundant, that's what we're seeing. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen with Florida, but that is what's happening. You're getting better seats, but those seats take up more room, like you would in a movie theater. So it goes down. So, but I get the point. I really do. So that would be interesting to see what Florida does if they do anything.
Yeah. I think we got bigger fish to fry than worrying
Agree.
about
Yeah.
redoing a bathroom or putting a chair back in, quite honestly. Okay, so the playoffs, like I said, we could talk about the playoffs all day we want, but we'll know more next Tuesday. Will give us a little better answer of who is getting in, possibly, but then you got championship Saturday after that, and we'll find out what bowl game the Gators are going to. Brent, were you surprised Mac Brown getting fired?
Yes, because Mac Brown is the thing that Mac Brown does for North Carolina as well as anything is he raises money, and he still may end up in some kind of a job there as far as raising money is concerned. Mac is now almost 75 years old. He came out Monday and said he wanted to come back another year, and maybe they should have done that, but they decided that they wanted to make a change. So he did the best he could. I mean, he came out with a release and basically thanked them for what the time that he had there. But I think they want to go. They're never going to admit this, but they want to go with more of a younger coach that they think is going to be very successful. Now, look, honestly, and I'm curious what you think about this, but honestly, North Carolina has been, I would say, a mediocre school as of late for a variety of reasons. But here's the interesting thing, and I'll give Josh Pate credit for this. Josh Pate said last night, and this is how he put it, in the industry, North Carolina is thought of as a really good job. So they may not be winning a lot, but the point is the things are there for North Carolina to have a better record and be a player in the playoff. So it would be interesting, Shane, to see who either in a third party or whatever applies for that job.
Yeah, a lot of people here are throwing Dan Mullen's name out. Look, North Carolina, in my opinion, outside of Clemson, now I got to remember who's in the new ACC, but I think it's a damn good job. They got a lot of money, Brent,
It is.
a lot.
It is. They do. And look, and I will tell you this, I have seen this at several places and to talk to different people that when the SEC expands again,
North Carolina's their number one
North
pick.
Carolina is going to be one of their biggest targets. Yes.
Yep. Greg Sankey actually told us that last year at the SEC championship weekend thing. Houston fired their offensive coordinator who has Gator ties, Kevin Barbay.
Yes,
Uh, he was also fired by Mississippi State.
right.
I don't know him. I know who he is. He was like McElwain's
Hmm.
uh, assistant. I don't know how he got these jobs, and it's not surprising to me that he
Yeah,
was fired.
agree.
It's pretty bizarre how some of these people get jobs. Usually it's
Yes,
about somebody you know, but I
yeah,
have
no, no
no idea
doubt.
why. I have no
Yeah,
idea why Mississippi State hired him last year and Houston hired him this year. Only 5 teams have been favored in every game this season. Brent, who are they?
Liberty, Miami, Ohio State, Texas, and Texas A&M who played this weekend. But that is interesting, favored in every game because there are a lot of teams that you would think that should be on that list that are not.
Yeah. A lot of people are asking, is there a way South Carolina gets into the 12-team playoff?
Well, here's the deal: if you are, they are 15, so that's not 4 from 12. If they beat Clemson and Clemson is 12, that would certainly help them. They would be. A lot of people think South Carolina is one of the better 3-loss teams. Now, what we don't know is the committee going to take a 3-loss team?
Yeah.
Now, of the 3-loss teams, Alabama is rated the highest right now, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But yeah, look, right now, Shane, our best answer to that is at this point, anything is possible because we've not just got 1 week, but we've got 2 weeks with championships that could affect a lot of this too. So if you're a South Carolina fan, I would not lose hope.
So do you know, like, let's take Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. Let's say they're all in at 9-3. And which of those 3 teams are more deserving to go to the playoffs, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, you can make an argument almost for all of them. I mean, I understand the losses Alabama's had, but they've also beaten Georgia, South Carolina, and LSU. And you could say the same thing for South Carolina and Ole Miss. So I think they've all got an argument, frankly. Look, and I'm being very transparent here with this. And the committee's never going to admit this, but another factor, Shane, in this is which of those teams could draw the biggest television audience.
Yeah.
So let's just put that on the table and be honest about that. They will never admit it, and I'm not saying television is telling the committee what to do, but the committee can make their wishes known in different ways.
Yeah, it's if those 3 teams are right there, I don't know who I'd pick, quite honestly.
It's a
Um,
tough choice, isn't it?
yeah, I think all 3 of them deserve to go in. I would probably say, you know what? We're not going to take any of them to make it easy.
Well, and what's going to make it easier is we're going to expand this thing in 2 years to 14 or 16 anyway.
Yeah. Electronics World integration and design specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation service and support. Go check them out at electronicsworld.net. We got Brent Beaird, a college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. We'll have JC in the second portion of today's show, do our Peach Lane Dental picks and things of that nature. All right, Brent, let's move to the Iron Bowl. I'm telling you, Alabama better look out. If Auburn gets any kind of offensive play, I think they can win the game. I really do, Brent.
Well, I don't deny that either. And Alabama's going to have to match Auburn's intensity that they had in the A&M game. Now, the game's in Tuscaloosa, and Auburn has not won in Tuscaloosa since 2010.
Did you see real quick, Brent? I don't mean to
Mm-hmm.
interrupt you, but I saw the stat this weekend, or it was on Twitter, that Auburn has never lost in Tuscaloosa unless Saban has been coaching.
Yeah, I've seen that too. That is, and again, they didn't really start playing in Tuscaloosa until the the end of the 80s, the beginning of the 90s.
Right.
With that, so yeah, that's a good point with that too. Auburn did play very well against A&M. I really have to give them credit. Auburn's really got a good defense. They've really got one of the better defenses in the nation, frankly.
Yep.
24th in yards per game with that too. Peyton Thorne played probably above his head, but that's what you have to do sometimes. Look, here's the bottom line for this game. Alabama was not prepared against Oklahoma, but I give Oklahoma a lot of credit. That is a big-time defense at Oklahoma, and I give Brent Venables credit for that. But Shane, you know and I know what Oklahoma did was they had the defense that Vanderbilt did against Alabama, and the offense that Vanderbilt did against Alabama, and it's a copycat situation, and Auburn's going to try to do the same thing, are they not?
Yeah, especially defensive. I don't know if they'll do a whole lot of that offensive stuff because their quarterback's not a runner.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a heck of a game, and would not surprise me if Auburn wins for some reason. Another rivalry game, Arkansas. Both of these teams, I believe, are bowl eligible. I know Missouri is. Arkansas's
Yeah.
at Missouri. Should be a fun game to watch.
It will be. Arkansas is bowl eligible too at 6-5. So what you're looking at now is kind of the bowl pecking order. Can I win another game or two and kind of get up the bowl list, as some of these teams talk about? It's going to depend a lot on how healthy Arkansas is. Talon Green at quarterback, I think, is playing well. He's not great because he makes a lot of mistakes, but when he does play well, he's a good quarterback. Probably will have one more game here at least with Luther Burden, who is very good. But no, I'm with you. This is going to be a fascinating game. And Brady Cook, Shane, I've rarely ever seen a quarterback who is that tough. Reminds me of Shane Matthews a little bit,
right.
But
Right.
But seriously, the kid's injured, Shane, all the time. Is limping around and so forth. But he's a gamer, is he not? He's going to play.
Yeah, he'll go in the locker room for 2 quarters and come out of there like Willis Reed and win the football game.
Really?
Yeah, he's all right. The Mighty Gators are traveling up to Doak Campbell, which ain't a whole lot of places to sit because they're redoing their stadium if people aren't aware of that. So
Yeah.
I think maybe 50,000 if everybody shows up for this game.
Correct.
Florida State's also starting a true freshman quarterback as well.
Yeah, Luke Kromenhog. And look, I don't blame them. You start your younger players and just give them a chance to be able to do that. They are looking for, and I'll be brief on this, an offensive coordinator and defense coordinator. I'll see if you know some of these guys. Chip Long, who is at Southern Miss, Brennan Marion, who is at UNLV, Joe Craddock, who is at Tulane. These are names we've heard for the offensive coordinator job. Scott Simons, I believe, at SMU as a defensive coordinator. He worked with Norvell at Memphis, and as you've told us many times, sometimes you hire your friends or at least guys who work with you, and that's always something that is involved with who you hire.
Yeah, for sure. The Gators, if people didn't miss it, we will not be playing the Rattlers of FAMU next year, which I don't know what happened there. So we're going to replace them with Long Island University.
Yeah, that's a new one for me. I saw that yesterday like you did, and but yes, they did make the change. And look, I'm going to go into all the names, but Florida's done an amazing job on the recruiting trail, and signing day is next Wednesday. So we'll keep that in mind. But the guys they have flipped, I mean, they flipped more than a half a dozen guys. So give the Gator coaching staff a lot of credit in the Gator Victorious and all that goes along with it. Great work. And I saw just a few minutes ago, they've gone from like in the 50s to the 20s and now they may be like 17 or 18. So they are going up the rankings.
Yes, they are. Georgia Tech in Athens. I think it might be a game for a while, but I think Georgia
Yeah.
will pull away at the end.
Yeah, I agree. Now, this is Friday night. People need to be aware of that. It's not Saturday, but it's Friday night in Athens, which is kind of unusual. But Carson Beck played better. He had a good half in the win against UMass. And again, it was in UMass. This little Nate Frazier guy, running back, has really played well, too. Georgia in the SEC championship game will play the winner of Texas and Texas A&M. And I can tell you this, the SEC championship means a lot to Kirby Smart. So, but to Shane's point, Georgia Tech deserves a lot of credit too. Brent Kea's done a great job with them. I mean, they beat Miami, they beat FSU. They're going to a bowl game. Shane, they have made significant progress at Georgia Tech.
They really have. Maybe the second biggest game in the conference is South Carolina's at Clemson. There's so much on the line, not only for state bragging rights, but both these teams have a chance to go postseason tournament. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, and I'm with you. The game's at Clemson, and this is going to be fascinating. I mean, again, these are two really good defenses in the defensive line and front seven for South Carolina. And Shane and I've talked about all year long is just deadly. I mean, with Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart, those guys are tremendous. Lenore Sellers has improved. But again, Clemson's hung in there also at this point, so that that they're trying to get into the playoff too. So this game can have a lot to do with not only state bragging rights but playoffs. Probably the biggest Clemson South Carolina game that we remember in a long time.
Yeah. Rob says on Facebook, on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plum. Shane, did you see the story about the Southern Illinois grad assistant who unretired, came in the game and set a school record? Yeah, actually, I have a buddy who coaches on that staff. He told me that story. It's pretty bizarre.
Wow.
Tennessee's at Vandy. Tennessee's a huge favorite. Look, the Vols are in the playoff. All they got to do is win the game.
That's right. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, the thing with Vanderbilt is, Shane, as you know, Vanderbilt will 3 and 4 yards you to death.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up having these 15-play drives. They shorten the game. I don't put anything past Diego Pavia. But look, I mean, Tennessee's got a good defense too with James Pierce. And, Nico has been hurt, their quarterback. Dylan Sampson. By the way, speaking of these awards,
yeah, he got screwed.
On the running back award, Dylan Sampson was not even mentioned, and he's basically you can make an argument he's the best running back in the SEC.
Right, but I want to say that he has broken a bunch of SEC rushing records this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he has.
Yeah, I don't know who the hell votes on these things. All right, the big game, A&M hosting the Longhorns. Boy, these two places hate each other. They have not played in a while, and it's for a trip to Atlanta.
Yeah, and tickets for this game are well over $1,000 if you want to go. So now the big thing here is Quinn Ewers. He has an ankle sprain. I've seen various things on that, but the latest was he should be good to go. Marcel Reed. Going to be interesting to see how Marcel Reed and A&M react to that loss to Auburn. Look, Shane, there's no way in the world. I think that A&M was ready to play Auburn because they were too invested in this Texas game. They'll have a record crowd. It's going to be unbelievable on Saturday night. I mean, frankly, probably both these teams are going to be in. But A&M, they lost LeVan Moss, their running back, and that hurt them. So going to be a fascinating game in a lot of ways. Texas playing very well. People made the argument Texas really hadn't played anybody. Obviously, they lost to Georgia, but they've still had a great season.
Yeah, for sure. Brent, any chance Syracuse could upset the Hurricanes?
Maybe. I mean, when you go on the road, and look, Shane, is the way Miami's played this year. They play with fire. They start off well, then they get down about 2 touchdowns, sometimes 3, and then they make this mad rush to come back, and then they usually win. They don't always, but yeah, look, anytime you're on the road, Fran Brown, the former Georgia assistant, is coaching Syracuse. He's done a decent job with that. So I think anything's possible. And speaking of the ACC, I know that they're not a total member, but Notre Dame and Southern Cal, this may be Southern Cal's bowl game, trying to knock off Notre Dame.
Matt from Mariana on the Titanamar text line said, "What's y'all's opinion on why Hugh Freeze isn't having any offensive success when he's consistently been a good offensive coach, quarterback? They got a really good running back, and they got studs at wide receiver. They got that one true freshman wide out. I can't remember his name. I think he's number 8.
The Coleman kid, yes.
He's phenomenal, and it's simple to me. It's quarterback play.
Well, and the other thing Hugh has not done is you've got maybe the best, arguably besides Dylan Sampson, the best running back in the league, and Jarquez Hunter, and he rarely runs him. So, I mean, that's nuts too, frankly. But Auburn's defense has kept them in most of these games, even though it's been a very difficult year. I'm not saying he certainly won't be fired. But next year, Shane, I believe, is going to be a key year for Hugh Freeze to try to turn that situation around.
Yeah, no doubt. Brent, good stuff as always. Happy Thanksgiving, and enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Shane, happy Thanksgiving to you and our listeners and viewers. Always appreciate it. We'll look forward to next week.
That's our Heisman Trophy voter and college football analyst, Brent Beaird, join us on the Titan Memorial Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We'll come back. We'll be joined by JC, live from the Lone Star State. Maybe you'll have a cowboy hat on today, like a little, not a cowboy's hat, a cowboy hat. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, Dave & Buster's. Gridiron sponsors are Florida Cracker Kitchen, Comfort Temp, Peachland Dental, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Cogent Bank, UF Bookstores, Florida Victorious, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Electronics World, Miapa Latin Cafe, 84 Lumber, Baker's Sporting Goods, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Gator Bait Media, Bishop's Barbecue, Los Linderos Tequila, Sunshine Holiday Lights, MG&A Wealth, Nest and Wow. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
After serving over 100 families over the past several years, we're super excited to kick off the holiday season. I'm Dylan. I'm Garrett. And we're Sunshine Holiday Lights. We all know how stressful it can be to decorate your home during the holidays. Our services include installation of all material, maintenance, takedown, and storage of the material throughout the year. If you want to spend more time with your family this year, give Sunshine Holiday Lights a call.
And now for a special announcement from Steve Spurrier.
Spurrier's Gridiron gift cards are on sale for 20% off between November 26th and December the 2nd. You can go to spurriers.com and order a digital card or stop by a restaurant in Celebration Point and pick up some today for the Gators and the people that love good food in your life. Use the code GC20 and get 20% off. That's right, 20% off gift cards with the code GC20.
Get yours today at spurriers.com.
Naysayers. setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Miapalatin Cafe. I wonder if they cook Thanksgiving. Ooh. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapalatin Cafe with 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Let's go back to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. And I was hoping he'd have a big hat on today, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
JC, by the way, I want to show you this hat I have here. You know, I'm not a hat guy, but Los Linderos Tequila.
Oh, that sounds good.
It is a new sponsor. You know who owns it?
Who?
Urban Meyer.
Okay. Well, I mean, tequila, that's the new drink. That's what all the CrossFitters drink. Did
Stoops have vodka or tequila? I think tequila also.
Well, tequila is what all the cross trainers drink.
It's very healthy for you.
It's keto friendly, and it's an upper, not a downer. Meaning, you don't get all lethargic after about 5 of them, but you can get a little goofy. However, that sounds great. Tequila, yeah. So, all right. So I was listening to you and Brent just there before I stepped on, and one of the questions that I was interested in was about South Carolina. You asked about South Carolina. And South Carolina, it's you can't argue that they are playing as well as anybody in the league. I would say, and I think they've got a great chance of beating Clemson this weekend. The only problem with them for the playoff would be that if Mississippi and Alabama have the same record, you're looking at 2 teams that beat them. So it would be hard for me to see the committee actually jump South Carolina ahead of those teams. So then you could also make the same argument. Well, JC, Alabama lost to Tennessee. How could you jump Alabama above Tennessee if Tennessee loses and has a 9-3 record? So I think it just comes down to who they think is playing the best. And frankly, Alabama, after that last game, is not playing the best, has a tough game this weekend against Auburn. And I would still put Mississippi ahead of both of them because of what Mississippi did to South Carolina and the fact that I think Mississippi could go deeper. And I hate saying this, but I think they would go deeper than Alabama if they were in the playoff. But Alabama is a funny team. One day Jalen Milroe can score 42 points by himself against LSU, and the next day he can't get a first down. So I don't know which team shows up, but clearly Brent Venables took away the run and made him pass the ball. And that's
smart.
That's exactly what Tennessee did.
Because he's not a great thrower.
Well, that's what Vanderbilt and Tennessee did. Plus, Vanderbilt has a running quarterback, as does as does South Carolina. But I don't think Auburn has that offense. That Peyton Thorne is not going to run all over you the way. Right. And so Auburn's not going to beat Alabama just off that alone. But their defense is very good, and they may take away the pass, and it could be a really close game. So,
Josh wanted me to ask Brent if the Gators beat FSU, do they deserve to be ranked in the top 25? I would say probably not. 7-5, you should not be. I mean, what do you think, JC?
Well, I look at, from 20 to 25, I think the Florida Gators could beat any of those teams.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from a.
I know what you're saying.
I don't think it doesn't matter. We're going to a bowl. We don't know which bowl. I'm fingers crossed for.
I think the bigger story is look at all these kids that want to play for Florida now, all of a sudden. Look at what these last 2 weeks have done for Billy and for these kids that want to play for the Gators, that he's flipping from schools, like Florida State, for example. He is flipping these kids. And it's because of the last 2 weeks, my man. And it's because Scott Strickland basically put the kibosh on any conversation about removing Billy Napier. Those 3 things that happened in the last month have really changed Florida's fortunes in the offseason, if you ask me.
John says, after hearing the Alabama callers this week, this is on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law.
Yeah.
They said they don't even deserve to go to the playoffs.
I agree. No, you can't lose to Vanderbilt, and you can't lose. Oklahoma's not a good football team. And yes, so what? They have a good defense. But they're very beatable. And Alabama didn't even sniff.
So if Alabama loses to Auburn, they're done.
They're 8-4.
Then the conversation goes with if South Carolina were to beat Clemson and Ole Miss beats Mississippi State. I don't think it's Ole Miss.
It has to be
destroyed South Carolina on their home turf.
There you go.
And Ole Miss also beat Georgia. So
that's right. So you're going to put Ole Miss in there, and Ole Miss is a team that I think has the goods to do damage in the playoffs. QB, they do. You
don't have to tell me.
Yeah, no. Well,
I picked them to win the national title.
Well, was not an outlandish pick.
And they kept running the damn tackle. Well, I'm glad they did against the Gators. Let's just say it was a different. Why you want to put the ball in the hands of a defensive lineman?
Well, he did it all year long, but what I didn't
I'm just
didn't go the right way. He went outside instead of up.
Yeah,
and it's confusing to me what their thinking was there. But hey, Florida won the game fair and square, beat them by a touchdown.
Yep, great win.
Yep,
great win.
Yep.
All right, JC, let's so we don't run out of time. Let's get to our Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. It's time for the Peachland Dental JC and the QB weekend picks.
Yes, and well, we're going to be on Friday, correct? So we're going to wait for the rivalry games and the Friday NFL game on Friday, but we do have 3 Thanksgiving Day games plus a I
forgot about that. Okay, you're right.
Very competitive and exciting AAC game between Memphis and Tulane, which you're looking at 2 teams that are 9-2. All right, Tulane has I think a better 9-2 than Memphis is 9-2. If you look at the schedule of who they beat,
I want to say Tulane's 2 losses are to Kansas State and LSU. Is that correct?
Yeah, and Kansas State was a game that the officiating missed a call in the end zone that hurt Tulane. That really had Tulane. Tulane could be and should be 10-1. If you go back to that Kansas State game, there was an offensive pass interference call in the end zone that really hurt Tulane. It was a bogus call. We've had a lot of those this year, QB, but we're going to start in. Let's just start with that one. Memphis and Tulane. Memphis is also 9-2, as I said. It's a really good game. I think these are 2 good teams, but Tulane's a 14-point favorite in New Orleans. And the way they're going right now, they're ranked 17th in the country. Common opponents, they've done better than Memphis, score-wise and so forth. I'm going with the Green Wave in Ullman Stadium to cover. That's a big number, but just the way they're playing offensively, Tulane is very good, as is Memphis, statistically speaking. But I think Tulane has just played better. They're 4th in the nation in points. Tulane has averaged, think about this, Tulane averages 40.5 points per game. So they're going to score a lot of points regardless. Now, Memphis is averaging 35, but Tulane really does score at will. I'm taking that, and I think they'll wear out Memphis by the 4th quarter and cover that number. That's a huge number, but I'm going to go with them anyway.
I will take the Tigers. I'm curious. I've not followed Tulane. I know they got a good team. I'm curious if the kid that we wanted to come play quarterback for us is still their quarterback. Who's their quarterback, JC? You got any idea?
I will tell you.
Or maybe he graduated. I can't remember. Anyway, don't even look it up.
Look it up.
Irrelevant.
Okay, it's irrelevant. But it's a team that's won 8 in a row, whoever it is. And if I followed them, I would be able to tell you about it, but I don't. But I do have their hat.
I can't believe you don't have a Tulane hat.
I do have a Tulane hat.
They have a tremendous logo.
It's the best logo. I think it's one of the top 5.
The best logo
one of the top 5.
In sports is the Wichita State Shocker guy.
Shocker with the hair. Yeah. Listen, this is a top 5 logo, though. We're going to go through during the slow time what our top 5 logos in college football are, QB. And I think you and I will probably have a lot of the same ones.
Pistol Pete's one of my favorites, too.
He's the one, that big chin. He's awesome. But we'll go through that. I also wanted to mention another thing about how some of these teams can get in. Alabama, Mississippi. We'll get to the NFL games in a minute. Alabama, Mississippi, and I guess South Carolina. What really needs to happen for total chaos to ensue is for those teams to win, get to 9 wins, and then have Southern Cal beat Notre Dame. If Southern Cal beats Notre Dame, you can kick Notre Dame out. They can't get over that loss to Northern Illinois, and they would have 2 losses to 2 ranked teams.
Real quick, I'm just reading here on YouTube. Michael Pratt was the guy. He graduated. He's on the Bucks practice squad.
Okay, he doesn't play for them. Yeah, we knew about Michael Pratt, but he doesn't play college anymore.
Well, for some reason, that must have been we were trying to get him when we got Graham Mertz, I think.
Yes. Yeah, he's a Florida guy.
John says the best logo is a swinging gator. I agree, but that's not football. We're talking about football, college football team logos.
Yeah. So anyway, I would say you'd really want to root for Southern California if you don't want to see Notre Dame take up a spot. in the 12-team playoff. But I think I agree, as you guys mentioned earlier, that we're looking in 2 years at expanding this to 14 or 16 teams, QB. So 3 lost teams are going to be in this playoff at some point. But that's down the road.
Yeah. Okay.
And now what I want to know is, do you think the SEC will go to 9? Because at 8, we've already seen the carnage that we're seeing right now. And how about the Gators getting Brooklyn, New York on the schedule next year? I'm really excited.
We got a home and home with the
Long Island
LIU.
Yeah, Long Island University out of Brooklyn. I didn't even know there was a football field in Brooklyn. In fact, I don't think there is.
I think they're like the Sharks.
The Sharks. Very cool.
Google that and see. But we got rid of FAMU. You would have thought FAMU would have wanted the Czech to come down here. They would have brought some fans.
Very
They could have brought their damn band. That'd have been fun at halftime.
That would have been
the
really
Marching
good.
100.
You know, I don't have a problem with it. Don't make it a night game, though. But I don't have a problem with that because look at what Florida's schedule is going to be next year.
Right, but why not have why we got rid of FAMU? I need to find out. Okay, the 252 on the Titan Lamar text line says,
yes,
24/7 Sports has the Gators 18th in the country in recruiting, but 10th in the SEC. He says that ain't good enough to be a lead or championship team.
Well, let's just pump the brakes and decide how far we get, because you're going to get kids that 24/7 Sports or the rest of them aren't aware of, believe it or not, and will slip through all of the coverage and come to Florida. I mean, look, it's not over yet. We've got a week to go, I think, till December 3rd. So I'm not I think it's been a great 3 weeks for the University of Florida. They've come off the mat, so to speak. All right, on Thanksgiving, typically what you do, QB, is in the past you've always bet against the Lions and you bet for the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. That's what you typically do, right? That is exactly the opposite now. Now you take the Lions and you don't take the Cowboys based on what we've seen this year. But both are playing as they always do, and the Bears are getting 10 points. The Bears play hard, they play tough, they play close games, and they never win. What are you pointing at, QB?
You didn't Google it, but I just did. They are the Sharks.
Okay, we're still on Brooklyn. I don't know where the football field is in Brooklyn. I swear to God. But anyway, Chicago and Detroit. I don't know why Long Island U is in Brooklyn. If this is the school I'm thinking of, it should be out there in Montauk. Anyway, should be out there at the Hamptons. Anyway, we've got the Lions and Bears 10 points, QB. I think the Bears play hard. They'll play tough, but they'll run out of steam. I'm still going to get them to cover that 10, but it's hard to bet against Detroit the way they're going.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams has played well. I mean, he played well enough the last 2 weeks to win the football game, and they've had issues.
They sure have.
Boy, the Lions are a machine right now. I'll take Detroit.
Okay, land 10. The Cowboys and Giants, these are two of the poorest teams in the league, both in the same division. The Giants are such a dysfunctional mess. I don't know if Daboll's going to survive there, but the Cowboys are laying 3.5. It's hard to take points with the Giants. It's hard to lay points with the Cowboys.
I don't even know who's the Giants quarterback in today's
It'll
world.
be Tommy Cutlets. Tommy DeVito, baby. The Cutlets, right? He tells everybody in the media that his body is sore.
Well, no doubt.
Because I'm very sore.
You're going to be sore.
Yeah, well,
I'm just going to go on a limb because I hate the Cowboys. I'm going to take the G-men.
No.
And you know what? You know who's entertaining at halftime, JC, for this game?
Neo.
Laney Wilson.
Oh, God, Laney Wilson. Wow. I think we're going to go down there. We don't do Thanksgiving till Friday here, so we're going to probably be down there at Texas Live. So it could be fun to go down there. I'm going to take Dallas. 3.5 is enough. I think, that win against Washington was pretty impressive with the backups. Cooper Rush didn't turn the ball over. They got a special teams touchdown. They're even talking about extending Mike. Mike's contract as the coach. Mike McCarthy. Well, I just think Jerry likes him, and I don't think Jerry blames him for all of the dysfunction and the bad breaks they've gotten injury-wise and so on and so forth. But they weren't good when they were healthy. So you tell me, QB. But anyway, I'm taking the Cowboys laying the 3.5. You got the god-awful Giants. And then here's a game that I think this will be the best game of the 3, QB, and that's Green Bay and Miami. Now, this game would be a lot better for me if I'm a Dolphin guy, if the game was obviously in Miami. But it's going to be in Green Bay. And to this day, I've not seen Miami play a game at under 30 degrees very well in a very long time. And I know weather is not a big deal unless there are other elements. So temperatures don't really hurt you if it's 30 degrees, but the low is going to be 20 to 19 degrees. And for people with thin blood who live in Miami, that's still cold. I'm going to think that the Dolphins somehow can keep this game inside a field goal and cover against the Packers, because the Packers, I think, are a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to go very far. I'll take the Dolphins plus 3.5, but that's probably a loser.
This game's in Green Bay, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Go Pack, go.
Yeah. Well, if Miami were banged up, Achane is going to play. Mostert's going to play. They've got Jonnu Smith catching balls everywhere. Give me the Dolphins plus the 3.5. So you've got the Packers. I've got the Cowboys. You've got the Giants. I've got the stupid Bears, and you've got the Lions. And I think we both you've taken Memphis. Used to be the old Memphis State Tigers.
The State Tigers.
Yeah, and I've got the Green Wave of Tulane in a late cover. The big number would be a good game, and then in the fourth quarter, I think Tulane.
So Rick on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, says LIU's stadium is called Bethpage Federal Credit Union Stadium in Brookville, New York.
Brookville, okay.
Bethpage
is very close to.
Bethpage is a great golf course. Do you think it's near their golf course?
Probably the hardest golf course you'll ever play in your life. The black is, not all of them are, but the Bethpage black course.
There's no way JC would play the black.
There is no way. I mean, that place is.
Challenge yourself, JC.
Well, I mean, I would play it, but not from the very back tees. There's no chance. Nobody would want to do that. But no, I would play it. It's a public course. I mean, I can go out there and walk out there and play with my friends. I've got friends that live in Long Island. They've offered me to go play there all the time. I just haven't gotten on a plane and go. But yeah, it's extremely difficult course. I think there's a tournament coming back there here in the future, very near future. I want to say
the Ryder Cup in 2025. Tony, our golf correspondent, just let me know that.
There you go. That's okay. Well, that's what listen, man, that's going to be a great environment for the Ryder Cup. We've got all these New Yorkers, the patriotic New Yorkers up there, and they're going to be cheering hard for our guys. So that's what we have coming up. And I just want to see total chaos. I think you're right about the Gators are going to beat Florida State, be 7-5. But I want to see chaos for the rest of the college football world. I'd love to see Notre Dame lose to Southern Cal. I'd love to see Miami lose to Syracuse. I'd love to see Tennessee lose to Vanderbilt. Who wouldn't love that? I would love to see Clemson just get whitewashed by South Carolina. This would be fun to see if it happens, and this would create some real interest on that show on Tuesday to see who is where going into the championship playoff weekend. And Texas A&M, they're still very much alive. But Quinn Ewers is expected to play for the Longhorns. They're a 5-point favorite. It's kind of bumped between 5 and 6.5. That's a big move because 6 is a key number. But I think Texas, if Ewers plays, will get the job done. But we'll talk about that on Friday. That game is so big around here. It hasn't happened in 13 years, and these two schools have as much dislike for each other as just about any rival you'll see in America.
Yeah, that's for sure. For sprains, strains, and minor fractures, UF Health OrthoCare makes it convenient for you 7 days a week, including evenings. Walk-ins are welcome as well. UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. That's going to do it for our program.
Yep.
Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Don't forget, tomorrow you can watch the Mighty Gators play basketball against Wake Forest down in Orlando. I think it's a 2:30 tip.
Oh, so, did you see that Alabama-Houston game last night? Oh, my God, in overtime?
There's some great basketball. I tell you, Auburn is just, man, they're good.
Auburn's a machine. And this league, this SEC league,
it's brutal.
Tennessee is going to be a good team. Mississippi State hasn't lost yet either. Wow, it's Kentucky is very good, of course. Man, we got a great league to look forward to, and the Gators will be right in the thick of it. I can't wait. And by the way, SMU is playing California on Saturday. They will be in the ACC championship game.
Are you going to go to watch the game, Jason?
I'll be flying home on Saturday, bro. I got it.
No. I'm talking about the ACC championship game since you love the Mustangs so much.
But yeah, there's a good chance. There's a good chance of it.
Okay. All right, that'll do it for today, folks. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you on Friday. Take care.
All right.